The snow has finally arrived here in North Idaho, so I figured this would be a good time to share some updates as we transition into our winter season. One of the things worthy of an update here on the homestead is this structure here behind me. This was once known as the milking parlor, but is now just kind of a all-purpose shelter. If you're interested in learning more about how I built this structure using these pallets here behind me, cattle panels, tarp, etc., there is a pop-up coming up in your screen right now, right up here. If you have pop-ups enabled, you can go ahead and click on that and see the videos I did where I was building this structure and the thought process that went in behind it. This structure has been excellent. It served its purpose very well. Last winter it overwintered some of our sheep and Blue, our livestock guardian dog. Last fall I reinforced the cattle panels here to be able to withstand a snow load for the winter. And that too has worked really well, but I have run into my first issue with the system here. And this first issue is courtesy of Mr. Blue. You see, Blue is a big hole digger. And Blue decided to dig some big holes right at the base of this big support beam right here. All along here he's dug out a lot of the ground, which has caused this beam right here to lose some of its support, and it has shifted inward, and now these beams up here are starting to buckle in as well. I'm concerned that if we get a heavy snow accumulation that this is just not going to be able to support the weight. So I'm going to get this pushed back out where it's going to be perpendicular to the ground, and then put some wood bracing up there to hopefully give it some support. It's still leaning just a little bit off center. In order for me to have gotten it perfectly straight up and down and to have done a better job with this, I would have needed a second person to continually be putting pressure, pushing it outward, so it wouldn't be leaning back in on itself as I was driving the screws into the wood. But it's just me, so I did the best I could with it, and I think it is pretty solid. I think it's gonna hold. If that changes for some reason, I will be sure to let you know. In other news, I have completely destocked the homestead. I'm standing here in what was my sheep corral, one of them, and as you can see, there are no sheep. I have found homes for Annabelle, Penelope, Connie, Maggie, all my sheep that were my breeding stock that I definitely didn't want cold or harvested in any way. I found new homes for them. Connie, Maggie, and Connie's lamb from this year are all back with Tess at Baba Blacktail Farm. Annabelle and Penelope went to the home of one of Tessa's friends, who happens to also be a viewer of the Grass-Fed Homestead, so we know Annabelle and Penelope are in really good hands. Other than what remains in my freezer, this is all that remains of the sheep presence here on my property right now. This is Fiji. Fiji was of my breeding stock, but Fiji was really old and it wasn't a good idea to breed her anymore. Because of Fiji's age, she would be very much a mutton, very advanced mutton. So I thought it would be better that she would be used for dog food. Between Fiji and the other two sheep that I culled that have been going to the dogs, Willow and Blue have been pretty pleased. My chickens are also gone. I just got my tractors emptied out recently. I got all the chickens rehomed. The lavender Orpingtons and Swedish flower hens were really easy to rehome. They went really fast. The crosses that I had, all the ones that were hatched here this year, took a little bit longer, but between aggressive Facebook ads and Craigslist ads and harassing people until they came and took chickens from me, I was able to rehome most of them, and I culled a few others as well, the cockerels. So Willow, now it's just you and Blue as far as animals here on the homestead. How does that make you feel? Speechless. Any comments, big boy? I didn't think so. There's been a little bit of concern expressed about Blue and Willow since they're livestock guardian dogs and they don't have any livestock to guard over the winter, if there are going to be any issues with them. I don't think so. Willow is very pet-like. She, of course, lived in our house for a while when we first got her, and she's very socialized to humans. She was adopted from a rescue where she spent a lot of time with humans. Willow liked the sheep. She was good with them. She did chase the lambs around a little bit when she shouldn't have, but overall they were fine together. But Willow was never really bonded to them the way that you would want your livestock guardian dog to be bonded with them. But in our small little setting here, it wasn't a big deal because our dogs are close in. They're not on 1,000 acres out in a vast wilderness of pasture with sheep, so it's a little bit different in context. I say all that to say Willow, I think, is going to be fine without livestock as long as she gets human interaction, which I'm giving her on a daily basis. Blue is a little bit more bonded with the livestock. However, he has really taken to Willow since she's been here, and those two are quite bonded together, and he seems to be content just as long as he's with Willow. He doesn't really require human interaction. He doesn't seek affection in the same way that most dogs do or Willow does. But as long as he's with Willow, he is happy, and I think they're going to be just fine. You might be wondering why I've chosen to completely destock going into the winter. As many of you guys already know, this has been a personally devastating and crushing year for me. And I felt I was in a position where I needed to take the winter to really focus on rebuilding myself and not have to worry about feeding livestock a few times a day and dealing with all the stuff that goes into livestock husbandry that you've been with me on the last 2.5 years. I'm going to be using this time for healing, rebuilding, figuring out next steps, and just moving forward in life. So what does that mean for the grass-fed homestead? Well, for this winter, it means that I'll be just focusing on producing other content other than livestock from my homestead. It'll just be some other kind of homesteading content I'll be putting out for you guys. I have some ideas on what that content is going to be, but if you guys have some ideas you'd like to share with me of some content you would like to see on the Grass-Fed Homestead, leave a comment below and I will see if I can make it happen for you. Once we get to spring of 2019, I'll be able to reassess things, reevaluate the situation, and take a good look about which animals we want to bring back onto the homestead. I've already been in talks with Tess about some feeder lambs, and I think we might be seeing a return of the pigs. I'm not really sure exactly what else can happen yet in the spring. While it is sad that my livestock, in particular my sheep breeding stock, are all gone, I'd worked really hard and done a lot to bring them onto the homestead and carry them through as far as I have. While that is all sad, there are new opportunities ahead, new things to be excited about, and I hope that you guys are along with me for the ride.